Hello and welcome back to the Shed Geek Podcast. Here's a message from our 2025 studio sponsor. Let's be real. Running a shed business today isn't just about building great sheds. The industry is changing fast. We're all feeling the squeeze, competing for fewer buyers while expectations keep climbing. And yet, I hear from many of you that you are still juggling spreadsheets, clunky software, or disconnected systems. You're spending more time managing chaos than actually growing your business. That's why I want to talk to you about our studio sponsor, ShedPro. If you're not already using them, I really think you should check them out. ShedPro combines your 3D configurator, point of sale, RTO contracts, inventory, deliveries, and dealer tools all in one platform. They even integrate cleanly into our Shed Geek marketing solutions. From website lead to final delivery, you can quote, contract, collect payment, and schedule delivery in one clean workflow. No more double entries, no more back and forth chaos. Quoting is faster, orders are cleaner. And instead of chasing down paperwork, you're actually running your business. And if you mention Shed Geek, you'll get 25% off all setup fees. Check it out at shedpro.co/ShedGeek. Thank you, ShedPro, for being our studio sponsor, and honestly, for building something that helps the industry.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, Friday Fun Day with Sam Bassiter. I'm your host, Sam Byler, and I'm so good to be back with you guys today. As you can tell, we're celebrating freedom. It is July 4th. It's coming right up next week around the corner. I've got a big thing in town I'm doing today, so I figured I might as well start early. I am Uncle Sam, as you can see. And I'm so excited to have the Shed Geek, Shannon Latham, back with us again. Shannon, how are you today?
I'm good, man. I love your costume, and I love Uncle Sam. That's genius. Brilliant. It works really good. I want you. Yeah, you got to do the I want you. Ain't that what Uncle Sam did?
That's what he said. He said, I want you.
Man, you look sharp, dude. You look really sharp. I like
Oh,
it.
yeah. We pull off all kinds of looks. You know what? Something I've never addressed that a lot of people, I had this come up last week already. Man, ever since the Shed Show, it's just been absolutely crazy around here. Like all I've done since the Shed Show, the night of, is hurricane cleanup relief efforts. But somebody asked me last week again, they're like, where did you find that hat that you wore at the Shed Expo? You know, my big hat?
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't find that hat. Somebody gave me that hat. Wendell Stover met me out in the parking lot, and he's like, dude, you have to wear this thing. So that was not my idea. It was a great idea, but it wasn't my idea. So I guess I should put that out there at some point, that my big SHB hat, I'll probably wear it this year again, too. People seem to like it, and it's fun to do. But yeah, my big SHB hat was not even my idea. I just pulled it off.
I've seen them. Excuse me. I've seen them online.
Yeah.
I've seen people posting stuff like that online. So I thought it was hilarious. It was great. Takes a big head to fill that hat. You know what I mean?
We had a lot of heads in it that day, so I'm not claiming the big head. But the cool thing about this get up, the Uncle Sam, I want you get up, leads me into one of the things I want to talk about today. And that is we're trying to wrap up our relief efforts for Hurricane Helene, North Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, all the way down into Florida. We actually corresponded a couple tiny houses into Florida. We did 2, I think, in Georgia and 3 in South Carolina. And then there was about a dozen of them in Tennessee, but all the rest of them were in North Carolina. So I kind of automatically revert back to calling it North Carolina effort when actually it was everywhere. But the I want you thing, I'm kind of reverse playing it, I guess, in the fact that we had a lot of people. I wanted a lot of people, and we got a lot of people. I wish there was a way I should have kept a ledger, I guess, from day one to keep track of everybody that actually helped with that project. But it's in the hundreds. The people that even people from the shed industry is in the hundreds. Different dealers, rent-to-own companies, manufacturers, haulers, you name it. The people that came and, oh, look at here, Lila's going to get some attention. People, she's infatuated with my outfit. For those of y'all that never get to meet her, this is Lila over here. But yeah, it was the monumental effort and the amount of people that became involved is crazy. See, I think she likes my hat. Y'all like my hat, my Uncle Sam hat? See, it's cool. So
Yeah, it's hard to put in perspective, kind of you drove back. I remember we were considering me and you and Dan and I think Deanna talking about maybe grabbing lunch, and you're like, no, we're just gonna get on the road. And
yep,
we literally packed up my car at the expo, and y'all drove home like 12 straight hours or whatever the trip was, and just barely made it through I-40. I remember before
yep.
it got taken out, and then here we are planning for another expo already. So you haven't really caught your breath yet, maybe from that.
I have not. Yesterday was 9 months. And before we know it, the expo will be here again. At least this time I don't have to drive 13 hours to get to it. So I always enjoy those trips. They're fun because normally, like when it's in Grand Rapids, I have 4 or 5 stops on the way up. They're fun to stop, meet people, hang out with them. And then you go up and then you kind of do the same thing on the way home. And that was the
Hmm.
plan, for Friday. Well, that was the plan, just meander our way back home. I had Dan with me. We were going to have a good trip home and then to just pack up and out of the blue, drive all night and drive through rain and storms and everything. We got through I-40. I need to get Dan to tell this story because my GPS already back in Knoxville started telling me that I couldn't go I-40. Google GPS was telling me that the road was closed. And
Okay.
I kept telling Dan, I'm going to go until I can't go anymore. And then I'll figure out how to turn around and go around because I knew the back way into Asheville was going to be a mess. And I preferred the idea of staying on the big road. What I didn't realize was the amount of rain that Asheville had already gotten the day before. That would have probably really changed my plans. But hey, the way it was, we got through there. We got through Asheville and on to 26, and that's when the trees started falling. And there again, with it being on the top side of the hurricane, the wind was coming from the east. Most of the trees that were falling across the road were on the other side of the road. And it wasn't until I started down the mountain into Greenville that we started actually having issues with trees on our side of the road. But
Well,
yeah, 9 months later, we're still here talking about it. It's crazy.
it's been quite the effort. I think a lot of
Yep.
people have seen your heart, through this effort. The organization that you created through this effort, and the willingness of people to just step out of their comfort zone, volunteer, donate time, donate money,
Yep.
donate supplies, or just so it's a very cool thing, and it's a very cool industry to be able to be a part of. We talked about this on the other podcast with the Mayfield tornado when me and you were able to connect and do something together, and it was just you know Simon Sinek. A lot of people read his books. Find Your Why. He has this YouTube video you guys should check out, and he talks about your why. Why do you do what you do? Because there's got
Mm-hmm.
to be something driving you in the morning whenever you get up to go.
Yep.
And it's not about what you do. It's not about how you do it. And it's not about how you can explain all of those things. But what really
Yep.
gets to people is why you do what you do. And he talks about this. He said he did a test case on was a homeless lady in New York City. And he said, everybody's walked by somebody homeless, and what they're doing is they're selling goodwill. They're selling something. You're selling goodwill, because he said, if you give, you feel good. But if you don't give, you either feel nothing at all or you feel bad. But you can't feel good for not giving.
Yeah.
And this is, hey, there's a very biblical application of this that I did at a keynote speaking event where I broke down like information that was given to me. I didn't research it specifically, but how many times the word give is in the Bible compared to how many times prayer is in the Bible, or love. Like the word give, like completely, like, yeah, it's like 10 times more than any other word, like give or pray, is in the Bible. So I mean, and giving is the nature of God, right? He, the most famous verse in the Bible, John 3:16, God loved the world. He gave his son, right? So anyway, he talks about this and he says, what I did was I changed her sign. He said, she's out there selling goodwill every day. She's making $40 a day to sell goodwill. If you give to me, my cause is justified, like if you give to me. And he said, I changed her sign to say, if you only give once a week, or if you only give once a month, please consider me. I'll be here next month. And he said, changed her sign, and all of a sudden she made $40 in 2 hours. Now she made in a day's worth of work what she could have done if you call it work, in 2 hours. And then she got up and left. And he said, and that's probably why she's poor, is because she could have stayed and made $160, $180, $200 by, but the sign kind of addressed the giver, because it's all about the giver, Sam.
Oh, absolutely.
You're just a conduit. You're the tool. You're the vessel. It's all about the giver.
You just have to give people opportunity. That's every day. The one crazy thing about guys like us and our why, I got friends, they work at BMW, they work at Michelin, they work at Bosch, they work at TTI, which is Ryobi and Milwaukee and all them put together. And those guys, their why is to provide for their families. But they have to get up in the morning, they have to get dressed, they have to go to work, they have to come, they have structure that I don't have. So I have to have something to motivate me. You follow what I'm saying? Am I making sense? In like, if I don't, I have to create my own structure, so to speak. But I'm convinced that the giving side of people, if you give them opportunity and you give them a why, most of them will do it. And just I say this all the time. Just because they didn't help SHB do their projects and what we did doesn't mean they didn't help somebody else. They did. There was tremendous. There was probably twice as many sheds took into that area outside of SHB as there was through SHB. I'm just thankful for the ones that did decide to work with us. And the people, oh my goodness, the people that I've met through this that I didn't know before that ended up being huge, either donors or volunteers or being involved in stuff. That's crazy. Leon Glick, he's a guy from over in Belvedere that all my shed guys over there, all my shed buddies over there, they all know him. I never knew him. And I got to meet him in North Carolina because he showed up and went to work. And somehow he found out about us and he ended up doing some work for us. And then he came back over and over and over again, all on his dime, never would take anything, bought a lot of materials, brought a lot of materials. And those stories, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them, of guys that had nothing to do with the shed industry, came down, worked their tails off, and I'll have lifetime friendships from those guys.
Introducing the Challenger, the revolutionary new shed mover that's taking the industry by storm. The Challenger features a touchless design, ensuring it only makes contact at the end of the skids and the bottom of the floor joists, so rest easy knowing your gable walls will remain pristine. Worried about reliability? Fear not, the Challenger is always up for the challenge and will not overturn or scuff your shed. Harness the power of innovative wireless technology. Remotely control the Challenger via your smartphone. No cell service needed. And guess what? The cell phone remote comes standard with every Challenger at no extra cost. Featuring floating forks, a 4-directional tilting mast, and sliding weight transfer, move the shed weight precisely where you need it to get ultimate traction. With self-loading capability, straight onto your truck, say goodbye to the need for a hydraulic carriage. The Challenger makes your job easy and more efficient. Choose from 2 machine sizes, 10,000 pounds and 15,000 pounds. Perfect for any job. Visit www.shedchallenger.com or email us at info@shedchallenger.com or call or text 828-220-3508 for more information. Experience the future of shed moving with the Challenger.
What do you take in now that you're wrapping up sort of this effort there? What do you take away from it outside of the stories? Things that are shed related, because the shed industry really showed up in a big way. 500-600 sheds donated, countless hours, fuel, effort, supplies donated, all these different things. But like, what do you take away from it after 9 months and all these people? Like, what's on Sam's mind when he wakes up in the morning now that you're facing a realization that this is winding down? Where's your mindset?
So it kind of goes along with this outfit I've got on today. I have really changed my viewpoint, my opinion of the government versus we the people. I don't like, I feel like somehow this has got to get out nationally. I've said for a long time that half the stuff the government's required to do today is stuff that originally the church was supposed to do. The church couldn't do it anymore, didn't do it, whatever. And the government tried to do it. The government can't do anything right. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it works. We brag on our government being we the people. And I want to brag on the fact that we the people showed up and did it. That's what's big to me, is the fact that for everything we see on social media, on the news, wherever you're getting your information from, that, we're pretty much at the end of the world because we've gone to hell in a handbasket. And I'm sitting over here and I'm like, wait a minute. When it boils right down to boots on the ground, to people out here living life, I worked with every branch of political party there is up there. I worked with liberals. I worked with conservatives. I worked with right-wing nuts, left-wing nuts. Nobody cared. At the end of the day, when we needed help and when everybody needed help, everybody pulls together and still does. That's we the people. And this country still runs on we the people. That's my takeaway.
What are some of the things that you saw? People without a home, right? Destroyed, right?
Yeah.
No home. What are some of the things you ran up against when trying to put in a temporary shelter versus the red tape that exists? Now, maybe we can play devil's advocate here. I've always said I've never advocated for the devil, but to just kind of humor me, I understand a level of government oversight. This church that we've got, right? This office that we got, it's a church building. And when we got here, of all things that Illinois, I better not say it. I'm gonna give them some ideas. Of all the things, like, we do not have strict codes in terms of our electrical.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can do your own electrical or whatever. You're supposed to have the box inspected, but you don't. There's even just going across into Paducah in Kentucky, there's way more rules and codes and things like that. This church had kind of operated, it's a 100-year-old church, closed down during COVID. And we got in here after buying it, and there were live wires that were just hanging
Yeah.
in places because the local handyman, the
Yeah.
church handyman or whatever, would just do whatever. And there was literally some pretty heavy wires that were just exposed ends, and they were live, and we had to go through and like just make it safe before we could do anything. So there's a certain level of oversight that's necessary because people will do dangerous things if not.
No
Now,
kidding.
that said, what can be more dangerous than living in a tent when you have nothing else?
Or not even a tent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Under a bridge with a tarp. Everything you own in a little 4-door car, and you're supposed to sleep in that car too.
And that's seemingly okay because what's the
Yeah,
alternative,
I
right?
mean, there's no code against it. There's
That's a
nowhere,
good point.
you go into planning and development. So this is going to take a minute, and I got to back away. I can go all the way back to the 70s, early 70s, when I remember my dad building houses. And Dad was one of those dads that he took his boys around with him everywhere he went. So we were on site a lot. And I learned construction way, way early age. Learned how to farm at an early age because of my grandpa having a farm. But the construction side of it, back in the 70s, there was very little codes yet, but they were starting to come around. And, nobody wants codes. Nobody wants codes. But nobody wants, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't say what I want to say. Nobody wants bad labor. They all want a decent job done. And here's the crazy thing about it. You talk about your church building. Even if we have codes today, once you get your CO, your completion for occupancy or whatever you want. I don't even remember what CO stands for now, but it means you can move in. You have the right to move in. After you move in, you can go in there and bust all the sheetrock out you want, pull the wires, run them wherever you want to run. Nobody's going to do anything about it. We still live in a pretty free country. You can see the stuff that, as a remodeler, the stuff that I've run into over the years, where I'm like, man, this house was built in 88. This house was built in 94. I know it had to pass inspection, and look at what's in here now. So it's not like we're still not able to, and we still do. Even, to this day, we learn what the law is, and we learn how to get around the law. And I guess that's
Yeah.
and my upbringing, we're really good at that. You just create more rules, and we'll just figure out more ways to get around your rules. That's just the way it works. So we go back. A lot of the areas that we ended up. So to start with, we didn't really know where we were going to be up there. We worked everywhere. We dropped sheds all over Asheville, all over the, Spruce Pine, Swannanoa, Fairview, some of the bigger, more populated areas that have a lot of codes and stuff. We were putting them everywhere. And, nobody really cared what anybody thought. It was like, they're going there and that's the way it is. And then you start kind of building your funnel into the areas that really need help. And you start focusing like on Barnardsville, on Old Fort, Burnsville, some of the Pensacola, some of the areas that are smaller, outer areas, small communities that don't have all this stuff. What they lost didn't have any codes anyway. So there wasn't near the red tape there as it was in some of the other areas when we started. But I was simply of the mind that what you said, these people need anything better than what they have. But when I started seeing what some of the organizations were building up there and giving to people, even I was like, wait a minute. You can't just take 4 pieces of OSB and nail them together and cut a hole in it and say that's better. Just because it's better doesn't mean that it's actually okay. So I kind of had, like the first couple of times I had run-ins with some of the officials up there. I told them, I said, look, I'm not going to put anything out here that I wouldn't be proud to drive up to and call mine for as long as I needed it until I get something better. I said, I totally agree with you. Setting a box out here with no door in it, no windows in it or whatever. No, I don't. So I guess by letting them know that I kind of knew where they were coming from or whatever, I kind of got a loophole quicker than some of the other ones did in the fact that I understood, what they were fussing about. I also understood and tried to get them to understand that we have got to do something quick. And, January, November, no, December and January by far our heaviest hitting months is when we got the most out. And that's when I got zero flack from anybody because they knew what we were doing. And you could tell by looking at what we were doing, it wasn't just a slap together OSB box. It was something that was actually capable of being turned into something better. By then we had kind of quit using just regular donated sheds. We were actually getting sheds that had house windows in them, house doors in them. Everything was 16-inch on center. So I just didn't get near the red tape that a lot of guys did because we kind of switched over to that. And even the ones that we took out before, when we first started, nobody was building these. So we just took what people donated and changed them. Like I had crews that came in and they took out the shed doors and they put in regular house doors. We would change the windows on most of them if we knew they were going to heat them and stay in them because condensation was an issue. So I don't know. I feel like we kind of got ahead of that before it ever became a thing for us. And as far as I know, we never had a single shed that was threatened to be moved.
Unlock the power of productivity with Cardinal Leasing. Are you looking to elevate your business operations with top-tier equipment? Look no further than Cardinal Leasing. We offer a wide range of reliable and high-quality equipment tailored to meet your unique needs. Flexible leasing options. Whether you need short-term rentals or long-term solutions, our customizable leasing plans are designed to provide maximum flexibility and affordability. Conventional financing available. Cardinal Leasing also offers great conventional finance options for those of you that prefer that over-lease purchase options. Expert support. Our team of experienced professionals is here to guide you every step of the way, ensuring a seamless leasing experience. Boost efficiency. With our top-of-the-line equipment, you can enhance productivity, reduce downtime, and achieve your business goals faster. Why choose Cardinal Leasing? Competitive rates, exceptional customer service, hassle-free process, quick and easy approvals. Don't let outdated equipment hold you back. Partner with Cardinal Leasing today and take your business to the next level. Contact us now. Visit our website at equipment.cardinalleasing.us or call us at 618-803-4086 to get started.
I wonder, I've talked for a long time, you've got the NSRA and the you've got APRO, but then NSRA was created to sort of organize around the rent to own. And I don't know that you would say it falls under APRO, but I think we're all subject to, the rules of rent to own, and APRO is a bigger umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kicking the drum for a little bit about a trade organization, and I don't know, that I have the wherewithal or the means to do it, but it seems like it'd be a good idea for somebody, because that trade organization, I feel like it could bring builders in. You could communicate with schools and local trade. Trades are on the rise. I mean, we're obviously seeing what a shift in the country, and in terms of college. I mean, like, I don't know. I just saw where SIU enrollment was up, which is not necessarily surprising, but at the same time, like, are the degrees, as a real use case scenarios in real life application, because you end up working alongside a lot of people who it's like, I've got a bachelor's degree, and it's like, in what? It's like, well, I don't know, psychology, or something like that. And it's like, or do you plan to be a psychologist? Like, nah, I just went to school, and like Indeed, the commercials on Indeed are starting to pick up on things like that, or some of the other national TV things I see. They're picking up on stuff like that where they're saying, you just need a degree, any degree. And I experienced that my whole life, like I had to teach so many of my bosses how to do the job, and I was never available for promotion because I didn't meet the threshold, of
Yeah.
having a degree. Now, I didn't have to have a degree in business. I could have had a degree in psychology. I could have had a liberal arts degree in who knows what, painting, painting pigs on Saturday. I don't know, whatever they can think of. You know what I mean? And it was
Yep.
like, well, you're qualified for the job because you got the degree. You met the prerequisite. Seems like trades are on the rise, and a trade organization would make a lot of sense because we are in the construction field when it's all said and done. And this is an example of where real life meets, rubber meets the road, kind of like you have a bunch of builders who could just go out and help in multiple areas. And I applaud what you did, how you took it on. The people who gave, I think it was and I've always said I think your heart is truly ministry. I think that's why you do what you do, because I think that's your way of evangelizing and ministering to people. Is maybe you're not behind a pulpit, but you're finding a way to get in front of people and help people. And we have and continue to make it a point to give this business to God. Meaning, if He wants me to do something else and He makes it clear, I'll go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a really cool thing happening right now, and you'll probably hear an episode. I was on this guy's, and I guess maybe I'll just have to explain it. You have to listen to the podcast, but I'll give you a little bit of on today's episode. Podcasting has played such an important role for me, and we're 5 years in now, and this went from, it's still fun, but it went from fun to a business.
Yeah.
And I can't deny that. And there's no way that you can do that and not admit that there is less fun in it now because it is a business.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean I'm not having fun. Let me be clear. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. I still do.
No,
I absolutely love it.
What
But
you're saying.
it does take on a different role when it becomes your life and your business and your livelihood and things like that. We bought this church in November, and I was like, so it was a Church of God, but it was a Church of God out of like Anderson, Indiana, not like the Church of God, the charismatic church out of Cleveland, Tennessee. And
Yeah.
I was like 6 months in, and I was like, wait a minute, God, did you just pull a fast one on me? Did I just buy a church? Like, I was in 6 months before it really hit me. Like, why did I buy a church? Why did it open up so easily for me to buy it? Right? I tried every other building in town. Nope. This one, no problem. I was like, well, I'll just offer them some lower amount, and they'll probably tell me no, and then we can move on. They took it, and I was like, what? Okay, now what's happening?
Now what?
So anyway, I've been struggling with a church home for quite some time, because I think I've shared this on the podcast, and me and you have talked about things like this so much. I've had more of a struggle with the church and church people than I have the world and the world's people.
Oh, yeah.
And people in the world, I seem to understand, because I just like your shields are, you have your sword and your shield for the world. And then you have your sword and your shield, as it talks about in Ephesians 6, right? For the, to put on your armor. And so anyway, I've just struggled with that. And I've found so many other people like me. And I was like thinking about this podcast. I was like, I know there's a lot of churches that starts podcasts, but man, God was just laying it on my heart, Sam. Church, podcast,
Yep.
Church of God. It's all coming together for me one day. And I was like, is this going to sound sacrilege, or is there people who are going to like absolutely hate me if you did I don't even know what this would look like because there's no groundwork for it. And I
Yep.
was like, is a podcast done by a church considered like evangelism? So it's like, is there a way that I can use the podcast to evangelize? So what
Yep.
would you call that? Would you call that podcast church? What would you call that? What would you? I'm going back and forth through all this, and God wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, "You just bought a Church of God, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "What about Church of Pod?"
Oh, there you go. Church of Pod.
Well, what's the first thing I do? Go and Google the URL. Go to Facebook, right? There's a guy who's already done it. It's been dormant. It's only three shows. It's been really dormant for a couple of years. And God says, contact him. And I was like, nah. Okay. All right. I got to be obedient. I'll contact him. Oh, no, he
Yep.
didn't answer. He didn't answer. Too bad. We got to move on. God was like, keep going until you get his attention. Like, I tried for 3 weeks messaging him just about every day on Facebook,
Yep.
email, and everything else. Finally, he reaches out to me one day and he said, man, you're persistent. Come to find out, this guy works in marketing in the post frame world.
Oh my word. No way.
Had the best conversation, and at a minimum. And by the way, I love the logo because it's podcast. It's Church of Pod, and it's a stained glass window inside of a microphone. And I was like, oh well, that's just genius. I love it. Anyway, I've talked to this guy 5 or 6 times already, and he said, if nothing else, you've encouraged me to start again because I had this vision. And he said, if I don't want to do this anymore, I'm just gonna hand it over to you. And I don't know what we would do with it. I don't have all the idea for it, Sam. I don't know. But man, the conversation was just excellent that I had with him. So that's kind of what's going on in my head as a passion project of trying to reach people, because I'm not trying to get people out of church. We're actually, the fact that there's people 40 years of age and younger, only 40% are in church regularly.
Yeah.
So it's not that I'm trying to pull them out of the church. I'm just trying to use an unconventional method like you're talking about here. They were able to be witnessed to in North Carolina because they're kind of in a state of vulnerability. And I saw that in jail ministry, and you've done jail ministry. You see that they're a little bit more open to hearing the word because they're kind of at the end of their self, right? And they're recognizing they need something bigger than them, So I thought, how could we use a podcast to help spread the word and evangelize and encourage people to go to church? So that's kind of been my evangelistic approach to this whole thing. So it's Church of Pod is on my mind a lot. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Well, you listen. When you I'm trying to remember a phrase that somebody told me a couple years ago. When your career is God's mission, I don't care what you're doing church. Your podcast has been doing church for years because you recognize and give honor and glory to God. And at the end of the day, that's what church is. That's the thing that I think we figured out the most about being up in North Carolina all the time is we took church to people. They couldn't come to church.
Mm-hmm.
We literally took church to them. And there was days Aaron and I, I don't know. It was April and we were still going up there, 7 days a week. And we'd be up there on Sundays and Aaron and I would be driving around and we'd be talking about there's nobody here. Nobody is here for these people on Sunday. These people are out here all on their own on Sundays. And it would just hit me like a ton of rocks that we're all at home in our little church buildings. We're doing church. We're sitting in our nice little pews where it's nice and warm. And these people are out here trying to scrap together whatever they have left in the snow, freezing cold. And it just, it hit me that we can become so polarized in what we think is the right thing to do that we totally miss What
Well,
what should what
we
should be
check
done?
the boxes, don't we? We check the boxes. I have not missed a day of church in 43 years. I've been there every time the door's been open, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, prayer meetings on Tuesday,
Yeah.
this, that, and whatever on Thursday. Like I'm there constantly. And I've heard from people who've literally said, I went to church for 30 years and then realized I needed saved.
Oh yeah.
Like how funny that God will use something, like that for you to recognize, all of my time I've spent here. I thought I had the answer. I thought I had a solution, but it just, like we've had to reaffirm over and over and over, like, God, I'll move out of this when you want me to move out of it. And I'll stay here as long as you want me to, because you are the provider of the opportunity. No man is. And guess what? No man can shut it down as long as you want it to move forward. So as long as we continue not only to give it to him first, but to give it to him daily, it's only the trap that we fall into. And men, we're especially susceptible to this, of our ego, of what I did.
Yeah.
Look at what I did. Look at how much effort I put in. Curtis Creason, used to say, I can't get up and walk through the door without his permission.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
What have I done? What have I done? So anyway, gosh, dude, I'm just proud of you. Happy to call you friend. I love what you did. I remember, I think I told this story before, when me and you were giving away generators. Kyle made that post to what's his name down there in Waco, the
Chip.
Chip Gaines, right?
Well, it's awesome.
He gave 10 grand, and I was like,
yeah.
Seriously, that's crazy.
Yeah,
and that was amazing that he did. And I remember handing out those generators, and I just remember going, people will know the Magnolia Network and Chip Gaines and what he stands for, because most people just know him. I have the name recognition anyway. You say Sam Byler, Shed Geek, or Kyle Summers, and people are like, "Who? I don't care."
Yeah.
Don't know who that is. Don't care. But they know what Chip and Joanna stands for.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I could think about that. He gave 10 grand, which is about 10 generators. I think we gave away 50, so we raised the money for the other 40. And instead, everyone that I handed away really grew his network even more, because I would ask people, have you ever heard of Chip Gaines, Magnolia Network? And they would say, oh, I love that show on HGT, blah, 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 whatever. And I was like, he actually donated this to you.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, will you tell him? I said, thank you. Well, I don't know Chip like that, but it don't matter. They didn't need to know that. He gave to the cause, and it was a really nice thing to do. The point was that they knew what his national name recognition was, his product, his show, his all of that stuff. And then they knew what his convictions were in the Lord. So I could spend some time talking to him about it, but I felt like, Chip gained the value far beyond, trying to push Shannon Latham, Shed Geek, Sam Byler, Shed Hauler Brotherhood. You know what I mean? Like, none of that stuff really mattered. It was just good to hand over that and not have to take credit for it. And try to live up to that, because it was just now you are extreme. You take it to the next level. You organized a group of guys for 6 months, and like that. I just, we need some Sam Bylers out there. That's why we're not all supposed to be the same, Sam.
No,
and like,
we definitely don't need everybody running around like me either. That's for sure.
But they should all wear this getup that you got on today.
Yeah, I heard that.
So let's talk about freedom.
Like,
what's your thoughts?
I want to finish up one more thing on our wrap up. Just so I had put a post out a couple weeks ago that it's time to finish up. I had felt like already a month before that, coming down off the mountain one day, the Lord told me that basically that I'm free to, if I need to get back to what I need to do or whatever, that I'm pretty much felt released from it. Aaron was with me. He kind of felt the same thing. We talked about it on the way down. And that was when I was having serious health issues. And we got past that a little bit. And then I was like, okay, if I do this, I want to finish it strong. So I put a post out there about, okay, let's get this thing wrapped up. Let's get it wrapped up by July 4th. I had a tremendous amount of people reach out to me and say, what do we need to make that happen? What do you need to finish it? What do you need for this or that or whatever? So we're not finishing at all by dwindling and just dwindling out and fading away. We're finishing strong with a bang. This last week, I've got sheds still coming in from Southern Illinois, from Western Kentucky, from Central Kentucky, Western Tennessee. I've got 4 haulers coming in that are bringing those in, and then they'll also do a couple of deliveries when they're coming in. And Johnny Stallspoos, my buddy from PA, he's coming back for the 4th time. Man, I don't know how many times he's been down now. But he's going to come back and make sure we get everything wrapped up. We're going to get it tidied up, wrapped up. And I feel really good about that we had the people that stepped up to give the funds to finish it out, to make sure we get everything done and to get it out there, and then basically say we're available for what needs to happen if something needs to happen. But basically, we're going back to what we were doing before, I guess you would say.
I got a big day tomorrow. I have a fully finished 18 by 40 cabin that's going to require 2 to 3 meals to get it delivered. Way back in the sticks and down a dirt lane. With all the rain we've had lately, it's going to be a mess. Well, it needs a bigger mule.
Well, when you talk, Cardinal listens, and you asked for it. With its diesel-powered 69-horse engine and capacity to move 40,000-pound sheds, the Mule 9069 is ready to turn your big days into just another day in the good life.
Ah, that's right. You're talking about the one they had up in Michigan at the shed show. That monster mule, that thing was awesome.
That's right. It's the one you've seen at all the shed hauler barbecues.
Man, yeah, there's nothing like a little diesel donkey to make my day go so much better.
Now, that being said, even that has changed a lot for me. I've got stuff coming down the pipe now that I never thought I'd have opportunities to, that are totally changing. You know, by the time I get to the expo this year, my life's going to look completely different than it did the expo last year.
Mhm.
Which that's fine. That's the way it works. And to have the freedom to be able to do that. I never give a big enough shout out to my wife and my family, because ultimately the freedom that Sam Byler has in doing everything he does comes because they're completely and perfectly fine with him bouncing all over the place, winning and losing, and then proceeding from there. So we have the truck. We're doing a truck giveaway. You know, that was my last big giveaway item push that we were doing. By the time you guys hear this, we'll be done and have given it away to somebody. But the fact that people have just stepped up incredibly strong at the end and just give $100 just to say that, hey, we want to help it. We want to help you get done here. I'm really excited about doing that, having the truck giveaway done up. We have one more bang bang that we're giving away. I don't know if YouTube lets us say that or not, but we're doing that too. So getting that done, that's all happening July 4th. We're having a kind of low pro July 4th party. I'm not putting it out on Facebook the way I normally do, but I'm letting people know that if they do want to come, they're welcome to. And we'll have a decent July 4th party. And then to wrap it up, do a Facebook Live, give the truck away, kind of give the last numbers of what we've done, some shout outs to some of the groups that I don't like doing shout outs and thank yous to all the people that help, because I'll miss someone.
Yeah.
But there were definitely some of those that stepped up. You know, Daniel Kane coming down all the way from Maine twice and bringing his rig down here. Hillview Barnes up there, you know, sending their drivers down here 2 different times. Maine's a long way from here. I know I had tons of people come in from Michigan, had people from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Texas, Oklahoma, all those guys. Vargas brought tons of barns in, for us. But Maine is a long way up there. And it's to see some of the people just keep on doing it over and over. Liberty Sheds over in Statesville, not that far away, ended up, they got so excited giving us sheds that somehow they got 3 of their customers to donate sheds. I haven't even figured that out or wrapped my head around that. I'm like, what were they doing or what were they saying that their customers actually? Okay, so I'm gonna get on a soapbox here for 2 minutes, and you're just gonna have to let me do it.
Okay.
We get in this thing. We grew up in this culture that you can't brag on yourself. You can't brag on people. Don't let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. All this stuff that we've had crammed down our throats that does nothing but hinder ministry, does nothing but hinder the mission. Because people get excited when you talk about what's happening. If you're not talking about what's happening, nobody can get excited. You follow where I'm going? So you end up having this company over here that builds sheds, and they're like, hey, we want to help. We'll donate some sheds to you. So their hauler, Arky Hauling, Brant, he's like, these are the guys that hosted the bash for us in North Carolina. They stepped up big time, hosted the whole bash, wanted to do it, forked over a ton of money to help us. They're like, hey, we want to help with sheds. These are people in our area. We want to be there to help. There's a lot of shed companies around there that didn't help. That goes home with them. But Liberty says we want to help. And somehow, by them putting it on their Facebook page or something, some of their, I guess, previous customers follow them on Facebook. They probably saw it and they're like, hey, I want to help. I want to donate a shed. And we actually had sheds given to North Carolina from a shed company that were paid for by people that had bought sheds from them previously.
There is a Bible verse, and this is where you're going to get it. This is where you're going to get it, because this is turning into a ministry related podcast episode as much as anything. But there is a Bible verse in Matthew chapter 6, verse 2. I'm gonna go. I got them all here, but let's go NIV. I don't know. People are going to have their thoughts no matter what I do, no matter what I bring up. But in NIV, I'm just for simplicity here. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they've received their reward in full. And I've thought about this for a long time, because I saw guys out there, Dylan, marketing buddy, Dylan. Dylan used to go out every now and then and record himself giving some waitress or waiter $100 tip.
Mm-hmm.
And got a lot of hate for it. And even myself, I was kind of like, oh, why are you recording it? There was times that I would be judgmental on that. And he told me one day, he said, how many more people are inspired by seeing the story? Have you ever been touched by a story that you saw on video about somebody helping? I mean, it's on the news every night. These people did this, for that. I think the key is here where it says, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the street, to be honored by others. To be honored by others.
You hit the nail on that. It's the motive.
It's the motive. Why are you doing what you're doing? And God is the only one who can see upon the heart, right? Man can't see upon the heart. So only God will know. Are you giving that $100? Are you donating sheds? Are you helping a cause? Are you, whatever it is you're doing, only God can really judge the heart to know. And he will reward in public, right? He will reward in public what is done in private. So like there's nothing wrong with, it's a struggle because of perception. People would think, well, this guy is just trying to build his brand, or he's just trying to build his effectiveness or opportunity for himself, which, first of all, we're biblically, as men, we are supposed to work, right? We are supposed to work. you know. So it's one of those things where like, what's wrong with building work for yourself, first of all? But if we can even get past that, like I struggle. I've struggled with talking about my faith on the podcast, not because I struggle with my faith, but because I don't want people to think I'm in a synagogue trying to sell Jesus.
Yes. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't get to use Jesus to promote your business. And I'm like,
Yep.
you don't get to use Jesus to make people feel bad to work with you. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh yeah, that I don't want anyone working with me who feels like they have to because of some, you know, man, that's really, really raining. Sorry.
Rain?
Oh yeah, we get rain every day around here. But yeah, I think you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
I've
I
changed
do.
my mindset. You
Yep.
know, there's the Facebook post that goes around of the guy, it's a cartoon character handing groceries to a needy family, and he's taking a selfie and he's smiling great big. And it's like, you don't have to make a spectacle when you give. Sam, I can only imagine how many times you've given that you haven't told anybody about it. And others too. And others too. It's not just you. I mean, there's so many people who have, but we are so quick to judge. I mean, I remember seeing that after West Kentucky in Mayfield in the tornado,
Yep.
the flooding happened, and I don't remember the gentleman's name. And please forgive me because I'm not trying to pick on you by any means, but it was maybe on the Shed Haulers page where somebody said, "Man, West Kentucky gets a tornado and people come out of the woodwork to help, but Eastern Kentucky gets flooded. Nobody wants to show up." And like, yeah, I know I'm getting in the weeds, aren't I? We're going to lose
No,
some
no,
listeners.
no. No, it's
Um,
dead on.
but somebody commented what I wanted to say, and I was like, "Oh no, Shannon, you got this public place. You got to stay out of controversy. You don't get to be controversial. You don't get to talk." But somebody said what I wanted to say, which was, in the time you spent criticizing, you could have been helping.
Yep.
I don't want to go to this church. It doesn't have a good kids program. Maybe God's calling you to start a good kids program because the church needs one since you're recognizing it. It's not
Yeah.
me to tell you what to do. It's
Yep.
between you and God. I'm just saying, it's easy to criticize, but like I mean, Sam, in the last 2 or 3 years, you yourself, I think, would admit you've asked for a lot of the shed industry.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
the reason. Yeah.
it's hard to do. It's hard to do that. It's hard to go back to that same well
Yep.
sometimes, like people are like, man, I don't know. I can't, I gave a bill, but maybe I can't give two, or gave, $100, but maybe I can't give $200. I don't know. I'm just saying it's tough, but God still sees the heart.
Well, that's you know what? For those on here that don't follow me on Facebook, I made a post about that. Maybe a month ago when I sat down and I actually started putting all the budget numbers together and stuff. Like, believe it or not, I actually do love spreadsheets. I'm a numbers guy. Everything is numbers to me. I love numbers. I'm working on some projects right now that are all about numbers, and it's like the best time of my day working on these numbers. I just can't work on them all day because they don't pay good yet. But when I started actually putting the numbers together, the fact that most of the funding, not the sheds, but most of the funding that we got to, either buy more sheds, finish sheds, give more supplies, whatever it was, the majority of the funding still comes from the little people. I have these little old ladies that nobody will ever know about that send me their money every week, every month, and they do it without any recognition. They don't want any recognition. They don't even care about that. I could put their name out and they wouldn't, whatever. Um, all of that stuff still adds up more than the big dogs. And I kind of like that. I
Yeah.
love the big dogs. Don't get me wrong. I need them. They're very important. And especially the ones that donated, there's a rent to own company up in Ohio. Actually, two. There's two rent to own companies up in Ohio that building count wise donated more than anybody did. And they don't like they don't want any recognition. They don't want anybody to know. There's companies in North Carolina that did that. There's Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky. There's people all over the place that are like, look, we just want to help. What can we do to help you? And that is perfectly fine. I don't.
I've seen that on the podcast.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make a call right here to say, if you want to be on, please understand that your story is important to other people. I had one guy talk about how much he enjoyed listening to podcasts, but he won't come on one. And I said, without guys to come on one, we won't have those stories. So like it's a place of vulnerability where you get to set. It's not a place of bragging, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't really know anything. I don't really have much to say. And I always laugh because I think, well, didn't God make you unique? Didn't he make you with a unique story? I promise you, your story, like, it's my job, it's Sam's job to get that out of you, to ask the right questions so that you can share, but that doesn't mean you're bragging if you come on and talk about your family history in the shed world, right? Or your product in the shed world, or your service in the shed world. There's
Yep.
nothing about it that's bragging. You're sitting down, you're having a conversation, and it's just like you would around Sam's campfire if you ever visited there. To me, I see it the same way. We're just putting a microphone to it. There's no formality. Everything's able to be edited. So feel free to reach out. We want to talk to you,
Oh,
because the content is the key. So
yep.
you want to have good content. We want to ask good questions, and other people like to hear your stories. And when they're alone, the thing is, Sam, me and you'll get it. You'll get the phone calls from the people who are like, man, I didn't know that about that guy. Or I really like that he said that, or I learned
Yep.
a lot from that, or whatever. I mean, that's how we learn. Iron sharpens iron. So like, let's
Yes.
talk about it. That's the way I look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate,
Yep.
What else you got, Sam? We got the truck. It's going to be given away. Fourth
Yeah.
is coming up. North Carolina. We're coming up on an hour, so I don't want to take too much of your time. But
We're good. Starting to get into the time of the year where I get crazy busy again. A lot of that stuff was put on hold last year that I don't want to miss this year. We got the bash coming up in October, Texas. We're taking the bash to Texas, Temple, Texas, October 16th and 17th. That's coming right up. There's still some. I think Jason will still take some sponsorships on those. I'm actually taking a back burner this time because we got the Texas barbecue guys that are working. Jason wanted to be back in working again, so I'm kind of just sitting on the side and letting them do their thing. But it's going to be good. It's going to be a big one. The expo back in Knoxville, that suits me 100%. I love it in Knoxville.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good one. The Indiana barbecue's coming up. The Georgia barbecue's coming up. Indiana barbecue's in September. Georgia barbecue's in November again. So it's getting to the time of year where it just gets crazy. I've got a trip to Colorado. I've got 2 trips between now and then that I got to get in. So, and I'm actually working on some stuff that's outside the shed industry. So
those have become my passion projects. I'm still very passionate about sheds and what we do. I love to hear a good story. I love to sit down with somebody and talk. But like, we've even cut back on, honestly, I haven't been super aggressive on like the advertising, like just really anything here lately. We've been so busy with marketing first, rent own second, finance is good, and now working to try to get Shed Hub. Man, that's going to be like, we're doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff on that right now. That people don't see. I wish I could just take some of those calls, some of the dev calls and the marketing, and where the marketing and the dev team. These are people way smarter than me. We're having some very high level conversations. I wish I could just put that out as a podcast episode, and maybe we can one of these days. Maybe people would find it incredibly boring too. I don't know, but listening to these people smarter than me talk about how to connect all of the things that need to be connected for better service is I'm learning a lot through this whole process, Sam. And the shed industry continues to serve, man. It's just been great. I
Oh
love
yeah.
the people. I even like the problems.
Yeah.
I just settled with God one day and said, I even like the backbiting. I even like the backstabbing. I even like the all the garbage that goes with it. I like it because bring it on, right? Because God,
Bring it on.
I'm
Bring
going
it
to always try to find you in that opportunity. I'm going to find a way to point to you. I'm going to find a way
Yep.
to overcome that situation, so that you can be glorified, so that you can be honored in the process somehow. That way, people can look. What does the Bible say? People looked at it and said, "Surely that has to be God." That's what I want people to think whenever they,
100%.
whenever that surely that had to be God, and
Yep.
that's what we want to point to. I believe my faith and conviction in God is as strong now as it ever was at any time that I was in. We've been looking for a new church home, but it's better even in this process than when I was in church every time the doors were open. I
Yep.
feel bet because man, like, yeah, you can just get so caught up in being there. And like you said, you took church to the people in North Carolina. You can get so caught up in being in the building, praise and
You
worship, listening to the word, doing the Bible study, Sunday school. You get so caught up in being at church that you're not doing church.
Yep.
So anyway, I always love mine and your podcast. They're just conversations that me and you would have anyway.
Pretty much, like you said, just stick a microphone and a camera in your face and go through it. These are some
That's
conversations we have anyway, so it's all good.
yeah.
You want to wrap up or you want me to wrap it up?
Go ahead. Whatever else is on your mind, go ahead and wrap up.
No, yeah, I'm good. Like Shannon said earlier, we're always looking for more people that want to come on and tell their stories because stories are, I still stick with Shannon's statement that it's education through entertainment. That's what we get to do. And sometimes it's laughing, sometimes it's crying, sometimes it's just bearing your heart and just telling what happened in your situation. People need to hear that. And it's nothing but the devil saying that, oh, it's just, I'm not, that's testimony. That's what it is. We're supposed to give testimony of what God's done. And this is a perfect place for you to do it. It's a safe place to do it. So info@shedgeek.com.
Info@shedgeek.com.
You can send an email there. You can reach out to us on Facebook. Always read the newsletters and stuff. Feel free to reach out to any of us, and we'll be more than happy to sit down and have a conversation with you. Thanks to all the guys that support us doing this. I know you said that advertising, it's not as important anymore, but thank you so much to all the guys that support us through advertising. Man, I'm so excited to see the Challenger starting to get out. They're finally in production. They're one of the guys that advertise on our show. It's so nice to see on Facebook on the pages that the machines are rolling. They're going out. They're starting to get out there. So reach out to those guys if you're looking for something. Huge shout out to Cardinal Leasing and Cardinal Manufacturing. Those guys always have my back. They always support me. They're good dudes. I don't see anything but up for those guys because they continue to do business the way it's supposed to be done. So that's good.
And
Anyway,
just to be clear, we're more than happy to have advertising, on especially more shed hauler related advertising,
yep,
especially on the Friday show. So, when I say we're not as focused on it, what I guess I mean is, there was a time where it had to be my living; it had to make a living for me,
yeah,
and God's
yeah,
blessed us with some of these other opportunities. So what we've done is almost just made it. I almost just wanted to be able to give it away at no cost, but if anybody knows anything about giving something away for free, Sam, it's me and you. And free is about, what worth about what you pay for it.
well,
So
that's
there's
true. You got
got to be
something.
some reasonable accountability. So, but definitely happy to promote your products, your services, things that hey man, we got a really cool platform and it's digital. So guess what? There's a lot of tracking analytics that we can like use to prove, right?
Yep.
You know what, and the world is moving more digital, even if the industry's not. The rest of the world's saying we're not waiting on you. So
Yep. I agree.
anyway,
Cool deal. All right.
hey,
Well, thank
would
you
you
guys.
would you want to but I haven't done this in a while, and I always feel bad. I feel like would you want to pray over like this North Carolina exit or wrap up, if you will, the whole thing?
Yeah. Good idea.
I feel like we should pray over that because
Yep.
we say God's exalted, and we want to make sure He's exalted in that.
Yep. Yeah, we'll do it. I'm going to close with my little spiel first, and then when we close in prayer,
Okay.
thank you guys for taking the time to listen to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Friday Fun Day with Sam Ambassador. I'm your host, Sam Byler. Thank you guys for joining us and for always supporting us and being a part of us. Lord, we love you. We come before you and we just thank you for everything that you do for us. We thank you for the freedom that we have to be able to be in a country where we can honor and glorify you and we can do what we feel like we're called to do from you. And Lord, I see people all over the nation in the shed industry that are doing this, that are doing their business and whatever they're doing it to bring honor and glory to you. And we just happen to have a platform to where we can talk about it. And God, the stories that we've gotten to listen to and the people and the relationships that we've got to build, God, I thank you so much for those. God, I just pray a blessing on the shed industry today. And over the next coming weeks, everything would be done to your honor and glory, and that these businesses would be blessed, and that we would continue to have a country that lets us honor and glorify you the way we do. We love you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks again, Shed Pro, for being the Shed Geeks studio sponsor for 2025. If you need any more information about Shed Pro or about Shed Geek, just reach out. You can reach us by email at info@shedgeek.com, or just go to our website, www.shedgeek.com, and submit a form with your information, and we'll be in contact right away. Thank you again for listening, as always, to today's episode of the Shed Geek Podcast. Thank you and have a blessed day.